Welcome to the Black Lodge Games podcast. I am Nick, and as always, I'm joined by my counterpart here, Matt. As you might notice, looking a little cooler today.
Yeah, a little bit. We
A little bit more futuristic, a little bit more neon, a
yeah,
little
our
bit
our
more
life
mirror shade.
paths may have been played out a little bit. We may have rolled
That's true.
some random style stats to see how we should show up to this stream.
Of course, personal grooming, the appearance, and the resolve all improved and never min-maxed for today's episode. We're going to be talking a little bit about some character creation aspects with regards to Cyberpunk 2020, which I just realized I can't.
Yeah, if you put it on
There
you,
we
it
go.
should. Yeah, there you go. Yeah, we're gonna be talking about Cyberpunk 2020 today. Reason being, we're launching an online game. We're gonna be doing a live streamed play of Cyberpunk 2020 starting next Saturday around, I believe, 2 p.m. Central or 2 p.m. Eastern. We'll schedule it. You'll see it on the page. It'll come up
It'll
in your
come up on your
subscriptions.
notifications.
Yeah. But yeah, before we jump right into that, we just wanted to provide a little bit of a wrap up over the e-drama that happened over the last couple of days.
Yes.
If you missed our last live stream, we had kind of a kerfuffle on Twitter with someone named Gelatinous Rube, who blocked us after arguing with us, and then showed up to our live stream, and we roasted him a
And
little
then
bit.
unblocked us
Yeah,
to
and then
continue
unblocked us on on Twitter.
consuming up the dregs of the blood sports.
Yeah, but he commented on our video. I saw the notification for it, and it said something like, "Come on on my live stream, and we'll hash this out in person or something." And then he claimed that we deleted that comment. We didn't. It's not on the video anymore, so I don't know what happened to it. But we don't delete comments here, and we also don't
Yes.
watch videos from bad content creators. So we're not going to watch your video. We did watch
Bad takes.
yeah, we did watch Shauner's response though, which I think gave
Yes.
the correct flavor for your. Let's see how if I can do his voice. I am Gelatinous Rube.
Yes.
Yeah,
Complete
but
with the ponytail and the filthy bedroom background.
yeah,
Tie it all
yeah, I
in.
know. It's like this is like
Trifecta.
classic YouTube guy.
Yeah.
I love it. Anyway, yeah,
Smirking
like
sword jack.
yeah, just as a note, we don't care about e-drama. We're totally happy to argue about ideas, even if it gets heated. But we don't care about any of your online drama, so don't bring it to our doorstep, please.
Yeah. We're not going to watch the video, especially when it's 3 hours
Yeah, I know.
long of rambling, droning nonsense.
Yeah.
Looking at a filthy bed.
Right. I did have a good conversation with Aaron the Pedantic, though, who I think was on that stream, and who I think my quote tweet of his was what kicked off this whole thing.
I believe it was.
Yeah. So that guy seems reasonable and cool. Anyway, let's talk Cyberpunk.
Yeah,
Like I
something
said,
far cooler and more interesting.
yeah, a whole lot cooler, a whole lot more fun. So at any rate, yeah, we're kicking off our first live play, and
First of many.
First of many, yeah. But this is going to be our kind of test run. See how it goes. We used to do this, back in the day. We have our old when nobody had a good microphone and nobody had a webcam, but that has been sorted for this game. So we've got a couple of buddies of ours that have been in other games from our real lives. We got our buddy Steve Fillmore and Matt Gibbons coming in, and we are going to play in a game run by Nick.
That's right. Wanted to put this through its paces online for a long time. Cyberpunk is such a great game, system-wise, genre-wise, setting-wise. It really does put over that feel excellently. And we've mentioned many times our philosophy about how characters should be made, how you as a GM should be putting over thinking about building the world in which your game is going to take place. And Cyberpunk 2020 does an amazing job from our perspective on all of those fronts, from the GM side, from the player's side. Matt, you've given examples in the past of how you've asked for characters, for players to make their characters for your game to have connections, have stakes, have things that matter to them,
Yeah.
so that they can be threatened, taken away, played upon. That's where the drama comes. And so I believe I've mentioned in the past on either a podcast or one of our live streams, an appreciation for a life path character creation system. This is, I think, the first example of that I have come across, and I don't know if it's the first one, but it certainly stood the test of time and been emulated in other games. So before we get into that, I guess, Matt, you being a player, we did our character creation the other day
Mm-hmm.
with all the other players, 3 players, me as the GM. What were your thoughts going through the life path system?
It was a lot of fun doing this.
Yeah.
First of all, so I had not, I'd never read the Cyberpunk 2020 main rules book from way back in the day. I haven't read Cyberpunk Red either. I put a unhealthy amount of hours into Cyberpunk 2077 and absolutely love that game. It, has its shortcomings like everything, but I love cyberpunk settings. I love even if they're not cyberpunk per se, like something like Ghost in the Shell is one of my favorite films of all time.
Oh yeah,
And
definitely.
that's a little it's less punk and more like a serious sort of espionage, like grim look at the future of government agencies and
Yeah.
AI and all of that. I adore that stuff. So it was a lot of fun to open that book and see all of this like kind of classic black and white RPG art that was awesome.
Yeah.
Like the chicks are hot, like
Yeah.
everything screams like violence and like it was just dripping with
Yeah.
atmosphere. I was like, this is great. And even
Chicks
just
are hot, the dudes are badasses,
Yeah.
and all the guns are gigantic.
yeah, exactly. And the text, I remember reading through a portion of it, and it's like talking about managing your resources or something like that. And it's like, so you're hard on your luck. You're you don't have the money for that cyberware that you so desperately wanted. Are you really gonna go in and hold the Ripper Doc at gunpoint? Of course you are. Of
course you are.
Yeah, it's like, just the
Yeah.
style. I was like, yes.
Yeah, the quotes from, in character people in the world um, really add to the flair. It just
Yeah.
again, it's one of the core. What would you say if you were to establish a mission statement or like a style guide for a project, for a game, for a world, movie, video game, what have you? What are the core thematic tenets? They have those, and the first one, style over substance.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And this is the thing, is it's like it's setting out what is the genre of this game, not just, what does the technology look like and is there neon or whatever. It's what's the flavor of play that you're going for. And so
Right.
the kind of choices that you might make in a game like Cyberpunk are choices that would be nonsensical in fantasy games and vice versa. So it's a system and a setting that is opinionated and is already essentially asking you and telling you how to act, or at least how regular, in quotes, regular people within this world would act.
Yeah.
It was really
and
cool. The life path part of this was a lot of fun to do because it's basically like random generated backstory events for you.
Right.
They're specific enough that you know what it is, but you get to kind of flesh it out and work it out. It'll be like if you roll between a certain range on a D10 during that year, you had a romantic entanglement of some kind. Then you roll to see how it turned out. But it's there, tells you what the outcome was, but you are left to fill in the details.
Fill in the blanks. What was the person like? How long did it last? What were the circumstances behind it? And yeah, to back up and clarify for those who are not familiar with the term life path, again, Cyberpunk 2020 does this. All the Cyberpunk games do. I believe the Witcher RPG, if I remember correctly, does it. It's made by the same studio, R. Talsorian Games, as Cyberpunk. They have a life path system.
Hmm.
Um, Burning Wheel is a game that uses a life path system. Um,
Traveler, I
I know
think.
there are others.
I don't
Those are
know.
the
I don't
ones
know if
that
it's
come to
exactly
mind.
that, but I know that in Traveler, at least, you can die during character creation.
I believe they have a life path system. It might be somewhat different.
Yeah. We have not played Traveler, by the way, so we're not trying to be
Not
authorities on
yet.
this. Yeah, not yet.
But what a life path system is in character creation, it fleshes out, it gives context and character. Typically, it's a series of tables wherein certain periods in your character's life prior to the game starting, or certain aspects of your character's life or upbringing, like your family,
Hmm.
what economic or geographic area were you born into? Were you born in corporate luxury,
Yeah.
in a space, uh, a space station? Were you born in a combat zone or in an irradiated wasteland area? Were you born into an organized crime milieu? Were Are your parents alive?
Hmm.
If they are, what has happened during your childhood upbringing? Are you speaking to your parents? Are they in hiding from you to keep you safe, or maybe because you've betrayed them?
Yeah.
There's a number of different ways in which and different games do it differently, but that's something you might not have thought about
Yeah. Do you have
in a
siblings?
different game.
Yeah.
Right. And again, your point, depending on how old you are, something happens every year in your
Yeah.
life.
Or doesn't. Like I had
Or
yeah,
doesn't.
not
Something
not
can
to
happen.
not to spoil anything, but yeah, within the rules, you roll a certain range. I think it's like a 9 or a 10, and it's like nothing really of note happened that year. Um, which is yeah, like it gives you it's pretty cool because it is taking the kind of the heavy lifting off of if you want to have an interesting backstory, it's taking the lift off of you and letting this kind of set of random tables take care of it for you. And the good thing is that they're good random tables. They're interesting. They have interesting events and outcomes, and the combinations of these things build up to create a pretty interesting base from which to work with. And it was fast was the thing too.
Yeah, it was fast.
Like I tend to when I'm creating a character for like World of Darkness or whatnot, it takes me a while, not like a ton of time, but it takes me a little while to kind of come up with a concept of, something in the material grabs my interest and gets an idea going or whatever. But this was literally just like, get your dice out, roll it up on the table, and now you've already got a skeleton. Just flesh it out a little bit.
Right. And I would actually amend that analysis a little bit slightly, because you, Steve, all both had going into it fairly fairly established idea of what you wanted to do. There was already there
Sure.
was
I knew
certainly
yeah, I
right
knew which I don't it's not class. I'm not sure what the term is for this game, but the
career.
career. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I knew which career I wanted to take for sure.
Right. And so even with a solid concept in mind, um certainly the life path system could do heavy lifting for someone who's coming into it, um, either not being familiar with the world,
Oh
with the
yeah.
genre, with the system, and come up with something that's very well fleshed out. But the life path system also accommodated seamlessly a character that was already taking shape. It didn't,
Right.
sort of shove elbows in or replace in an awkward
Yeah,
way.
it didn't derail what I wanted, my character to be.
Right. It was an excellent sweet spot, and we've we've talked about, again, having characters with connections. This did that um, excellently,
Yeah.
and it really, like everything else in the way that the rule book is written, it's reminding you, it's drawing your eye, it's calling your mental attention to certain aspects
Yeah.
of the world and of the genre, which may seem either maybe glossed over or not considered in a different genre or a different game, or even on first glance, this game, a cyberpunk game, it may not be something that you thought to consider. A lot of people have seen RoboCop, have seen Terminator. Some people may have read Neuromancer,
Hmm.
Altered Carbon, or what have you, Ghost in the Shell.
Yeah.
But oh, this aspect, I didn't think about that. I didn't think how that could really pop and
Right.
make this genre and make the character come to life.
Yeah, something you just made me think of with this is that even the stuff that's sort of would be considered like the dry mechanical stuff, it's all like doused in sauce, it's all flavor,
Yeah.
So you get the entire game is driving you in the correct direction on how to play and what the tone is.
Yes. Yeah, very much so. The tone of the genre and even more maybe not more importantly, but let's say just as important. Your great example on one of those other quotes. Are you really gonna? You're down on
Yeah.
your luck. Last bullet in the chamber. The last euro buck in your bank account. Are you really gonna walk into that?
Yeah.
Put the gun to this guy's head and demand what you want? You're goddamn right you are
Yeah.
because you're a cyberpunk.
Yeah.
That's why
Because
the game is screaming at you.
Yeah.
This is not only what the world is, this is who you are.
Yeah.
You are not one of the NPCs. You are not one of the dregs. You are not one of the downtrodden who are not going to do anything about it. You're putting it all on the line. You're taking it to the edge.
Right.
You're spitting in the face of the opposition, of the man, of the
Yeah.
corpo who's keeping you down. No, you're gonna make it happen.
Yeah, it's all like literally sex, drugs, and rock and roll, like
Yeah.
fast cars. Like the entire genre is just like rad.
Yeah.
I
I
really,
really like
it. Yeah.
that metaphor. It's like it's the text and the rules, even the mechanics, they're like dripping with sauce, like
Yeah.
doused in hot sauce.
Yeah.
And it's like 3 million Scoville units. In
Yeah.
fact, let's put some jalapenos on there as well, just
Yeah.
just to drive the point home. Yeah.
Yeah, I am
So
super
going through it, yeah,
super pumped for this game.
as am I, and I hope you guys are as well. And again, it was quick. Certainly that aspect of the life path system, it was very quick, and my sense, as the GM, seeing things come together, hearing everybody sort of banter back and forth, and a soundboard how the ideas were resonating off of them and off of this person. How does this work with this, et cetera, et cetera. My mind was buzzing immediately with ideas. Okay, this is something in your background. I can totally use
Yeah.
that immediately. Like this, I can link that up here.
Yeah.
Okay, I already had an idea for this thing with this person. That's gonna come together perfectly. Bring all this together. It's great, and then it shifts from that. It has that high octane. It keeps you at a rapid clip, thinking about your character. Okay, I have all these connections. All this shit has happened to me. This is where I am right now. This is the amount of this is the circumstances I'm in right now. Okay, now the game moves from the life paths to your skills and how you can actually mechanically complete build your character,
Yeah.
your characteristics, your skills, aspects of your career, your equipment, cyberware, if you need it. And I like that this is basically a skill based system, which
Yeah.
I prefer. There's no feats per se. There's no powers per se. Any direct interaction with the world on a mechanical level is done from a certain number of skills, and even you know each career, a media, a corpo, a net runner, have a specific ability, but that ability itself is a skill. It's just
Yeah.
particular to you. It's not, you know, Eldritch Blast. It's not
Yeah.
Greater Cleave.
Fireball. Yeah.
Fireball. Right. It's the exact mechanic that is used everywhere else, which is um, attribute plus skill plus a d10 versus a difficulty number.
Yeah.
Simple, easy. You have that freedom, and if you don't have a particular skill, you'll just roll your attribute.
Yeah.
So that also reflects the gritty, fast-paced, frenetic themes of a cyberpunk world, because everyone has had to scrounge, has at least the ability to kind of scrabble by in a little bit of this, a little bit of that,
Yeah.
in order to just survive. Even if you're focused in one thing, you still know enough, at least on the basic level, to attempt these other tasks. You're not drilled down into you're not the game is not rebuilding essentially a class from a
Right.
a classless based system. It's
Yeah.
not getting to the same stale point in a different way, which is great.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And like I said, I love skill based systems. I love being able to like kind of choose how you progress. And this, the entire aesthetic of the game is very 80s, which is
Yeah.
so awesome because it does feel like a throwback to a much healthier culture. Like there's,
Yeah, for sure.
like I said, like the whole thing is like dripping with like sex appeal, and uh, it feels like a lot of modern games and a lot of modern material, they've just completely stripped all of that out of the game.
Yes.
And out of the kind of, I mean, it's like, look at like a D&D book from the last couple of years. You're not even going to find a woman with cleavage, you know, let alone like a babe walking around in like a swimsuit with like a mechanical arm, you know. It's
You're lucky to get
there's no Clyde
cups if you're
Caldwell
lucky.
of the modern age
Yeah.
of D&D.
no.
Yeah, but I'm like really looking forward to this. We're also mechanically, we are bringing in some stuff from Cyberpunk Red, specifically.
Yes.
I think with like net running rules, and we did take a little bit of the extended life path stuff with that as well, because there is some that was relevant to career paths, which I think added some perfect extra flair to it, that I was very happy with what came out of that.
Yeah, Cyberpunk Red, a great addition. They
Which I think
which
is
is
in
the
the
most recent
2040s. I think is the
20 I believe it's either 2040s or 2050s.
yeah, but it's in
the
between
sort of
the old
timeline.
game and when the video game is taking place.
Right. It takes place between the Cyberpunk 2020 and the video game, which is set in 2077.
Yeah,
You are right. That that edition of the game adds on, in addition to the life path system, or life path options, which every character gets to go through, a specific broken out life path particular to your character's career. So there's one for a media, there's one for a rocker boy, a net runner, a fixer, a nomad, etc., etc. And those really do. It's a great addition.
yeah,
I'm glad that it resonated, because it's that
Yeah.
final little final little zhuzh
Yeah,
at the
exactly.
end of the character development to like really make your career pop,
Yeah.
really
It's
make
like
your
this. It's
identity
like this
pop.
pot needs a little more salt,
Yeah.
just a tiny bit. Yeah, and it is just a tiny
Yep.
bit, but it's great.
Hmm. Yeah, definitely. I love, of course, someone is playing a Corpo Rat.
Uh-huh.
Who's to say who that might be? But yeah, the like again, evocative choices, things to consider.
Yeah.
I the last question on the life path is the one I love the most. Is what's your relationship like with your boss?
Oh yeah, with
The
your
eternal
boss.
question. It's like,
Yeah.
yep, that's very important to think about.
Yeah.
And the option that was gotten was hilarious and very dramatically compelling.
Yeah. I
I
agree.
already have
That's one thing
I
that
already have a picture in mind for.
that's one thing that I that my probably my biggest criticism of the video game was that the life paths were just like the 30-minute intro and then extra
Yeah,
dialogue options. I was
I
really hoping
agree.
that they were going to add more to it, and I think that
Yes.
future Cyberpunk games probably will have more distinct impact with the life path.
Hmm.
If they don't, they're throwing away basically everyone's feedback on the game. But
Yes.
yeah, this was so much fun, and I don't know if you want to talk about the setting where you're going to be running the game. What you want
Yeah,
to? Yeah,
definitely. So rather than set the game in Night City, which is the default setting, the default location where most games take place, it's where the video game took place. I generally when I generally like to look at when and if I can different areas of a world and see how the genre, see how the tenets of the setting apply to other areas that are resonant to me. And for me, you mentioned the 80s. Like Cyberpunk, it does scream 80s.
yeah,
It screams neon. It screams fast cars, opulence, and poverty
yeah,
at the maximum levels.
exactly. Maximum disparity. Yeah,
Maximum disparity. That would also be a
a
great
great
campaign
game
name.
title. Yeah,
Yeah. But this game, setting it in Miami, what remains and what has been rebuilt of Miami. On the other side of the country from Night City, Night City is in what was California, and because Miami to me has always screamed all of those things, neon 80s, it's Scarface,
yeah,
right? It's Vice City.
yeah,
It's all those things. It's that attitude. It's
yeah,
that attitude of take it to the edge, do a line of blow, speed
yeah.
down the boulevard by the beach.
Spend all your
Make
money and
a
have nothing to show for it.
yes, live like a king from midnight until 5 a.m.
Yeah,
and then live like a pauper
yeah,
until you can shyst, lie, cheat, steal, and get back to the top and then blow it all again.
yeah,
Maybe, but maybe you'll have that big score. You'll have that big opportunity. You'll be able to put the bullet in the back of the guy who's taken that huge cut
right.
from you, which you know he doesn't deserve.
And there will be no strings attached, of course.
Of course, most definitely.
Yeah.
So, yeah, Cyberpunk, Miami, Cyberpunk, Blood and Sunshine.
Yeah. I am so pumped. And that is such a good name. Blood and Sunshine.
Yeah,
Calling back a little bit, I think, to Blood and Smoke from
Blood
Vampire
and
the
Smoke. I
Mas-
actually took
Yeah.
it from there's a publication called I Am 1777, which is a great dissident publication. You should go to their website. But
Yeah.
they had a publication about Florida,
Yeah.
talking about Florida and how people are emigrating there, et cetera, and like great aesthetic, great aesthetic. The uh, neon purple and pink, and the palm trees and the blazing sun.
Yeah.
It's a great side to like a cyberpunk genre. The I think for most people, certainly before 2077 came out, the video game.
Right. It's like, think about like if
The
Blade Runner had been set in Miami, how different a
right,
tone
right,
that would
right.
be.
How different of a tone would it be rather than LA at nighttime it's always raining? Cuz that's the
Yeah.
general like archetypical image,
Yeah.
right? Urban setting, tall buildings, neon, always raining.
Yeah.
Great, great, totally resonant. I love it. Now how do we do that and we have blazing sun in the noon of the day. The humidity, the beach here, the the openness rather than the closed sort of oppressiveness of like the gloom, the
Yeah.
urban gloom. What does that look like in the bright, harsh light of day? And I think one of the greatest things aesthetically that the video game did was actually tackle that. What does Night City look like in the daytime?
Oh yeah.
By
Totally.
and large, I think they did a great job with it.
I do too. Yeah, I
Yeah,
loved that, and I love driving out in the Badlands or the Wasteland,
yeah,
whatever it's called, in the Nomad territory. But yeah, that was really good because it looked substantially different at night, and you had, yeah, I mean the entire aesthetic of that game is just so good. Um,
excellent, excellent.
I am very very pumped for Phantom Liberty to come out and jump back into that.
Yes,
Although I hadn't played the game basically since I beat it when it first came out, and I loaded
yeah,
it up and loaded up my save. But since the patches have come out, and things have changed so much, all of your skill points are unassigned. So it's like you have to like put
redo
everything
it.
back. Yeah, I was like,
Yeah.
exit. I'll take care of that some other time. I don't want to do this.
Yep, yep. The downside of downloadable content and
Yeah.
patches just kind of coming out.
The downside
But
of not releasing your game before it's done.
yes,
Yeah.
yes, that is true. One of many downsides to that,
Yeah.
for sure. But yeah, that's another thing. The people who know about Cyberpunk, people who played the game, everybody knows who Arasaka is, who Militech is, and are familiar with the different neighborhoods and, like you said, outside of Night City, it's a blighted desert,
Yeah.
Badlands, right? The general image of what the nomads are, sort of, you have a Mad Max vibe out there, and with the nomads, roving gangs of trucks and bikes and dune buggies, patrolling and meandering and wandering through this parched desert wasteland between pockets of civilization,
Yeah.
and that's sort of what they do. Okay, so here that's the situation in Night City. The Everything big happens in Night City. What happens in Miami? Of course, Arasaka, Militech, these are global. Well, and now more than global. They're
In
space
space. Yeah.
space stations as well. They're ubiquitous,
Yeah.
right? Those are at top of the megacorp pyramid. But there are other companies, other corps, other factions. Voodoo Boys may not exist in Miami, right?
Yeah.
Maelstrom, the animals, different faces. Let's see how the paint dries on this facade. When you go outside of the Miami city limits, it's not parched desert wasteland. It's flooded, sinking. It's the Everglades,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Everything is sinking. Global warming. Everything's sunk and flooded out. What are the nomads like out there? What's the situation like out there?
Yeah.
It's very difficult to survive from an opposite angle. And how does that play into things?
Yeah. I'm really pumped to see what you do with this, because this is also
Yeah.
something that I think is kind of lost with the newer generation of games and gamers. I know people still like homebrew a lot, but it seems like when they do choose a published setting, a lot of people tend to stick to it. And even with like rules and things like that, from what I've read about, because I haven't read the 5th edition DMG, what I've read about it is it's actually a pretty good dungeon master's guide for as editions go in Dungeons and Dragons. And they, the idea, like I was listening to Pundit talk about this when he was talking about when he consulted on this. Their idea was to have 5e be totally modular, and that everyone was going to take this and use the bits that they wanted and swap things out. There's like all sorts of like optional rules, inspiration for these
like
things.
the Eternal Edition.
Right, exactly. And then the way that millennials who picked up the game decided to run it was to run it exactly as it's prescribed in like the player's handbook.
Yes.
So like that didn't happen.
Yeah.
And so it's
That's a great point.
I'm very interested in this because I want to see, we are kind of, we're doing it, like, I guess you could call this cross edition, because we are using some parts of the newer edition, but for the most part,
primarily the net running rules.
Yeah, primarily the net running rules. We're bringing in from Red into this 2020 campaign, or saga, or I don't even know what they call it in Cyberpunk, if there's a special word for it. Every game line needs to come up with their own terminology.
Yeah, their own word for a GM and their own word for a game. I believe they just call it a game.
Okay. But I am interested to see what you do with the setting, because I don't think I'm not super plugged in on the Cyberpunk lore at all. So I don't know how well Miami is fleshed out as a setting in this, or if it is or not. But I know that you're going to take this, and I know you're cooking up a whole lot of your own stuff. So I'm really excited to see what that is.
Yeah, and that's it's a great point. Like, a lot of people don't have, for one reason or another, they don't have the courage, or they feel like they're not allowed to.
Yeah, I think that's...
Or even it just doesn't even occur to them.
Yeah. I think those are probably really the two. Yeah, there's a lot of like, there's trepidation about making your own stuff and deviating outside of the box a little, at least with the newer crowd. And for a lot of them, it just doesn't even occur to them.
Yeah, which is very unfortunate, because again, by the rules of the setting, from what I've been able to gather in the established canon, quote unquote, Miami doesn't really exist anymore. Mm-hmm. Global warming, and I believe Tampa was one of the areas which was hit by orbital strikes. Mm-hmm. And that combined with massive global warming, basically most of Florida, from what I can recollect, is sort of beneath the ocean. Okay, so what?
Yeah,
Miami's cool as fuck. It totally fits with the setting.
Exactly.
So I'm gonna do it anyway. You know, who's gonna stop me? Like, no, that's it's fucking baller. That's absolutely what you should feel free to. If you want to run a game in Chicago, it doesn't matter. They say Chicago got nuked. So did Night City, several times.
Yeah,
and they rebuilt it.
Yeah, exactly.
If you want to set it in London, Paris, wherever,
feel free to ignore existing settings.
You want to ignore Arasaka entirely?
Yeah,
fine. Replace. You want to bring in Wayland
Yutani?
Wayland Yutani. Yeah. Okay. Cool. Why not? Let your take the hooks that the genre gives you, and again, these hooks, like you said, they're drenched in hot sauce.
Yeah, it's
cocaine.
They're radioactive.
Exactly. You just get too close, and they'll just grab you and drag you behind a Choo-Choo Lamborghini plus, down the corporate sector, whether you like it or not, and you will like it. But take the tenets of the genre and let your imagination take you to all kinds of exciting places.
Yeah. This is also a setting that really allows for some very odd combinations of characters to end up together.
Mm-hmm.
There's because like you've got very different social classes
Yes.
and very different subcultures within the game world. Like the idea of having like rocker boys and corpos hanging out with each other, like yeah, it's bound to happen, but it makes for interesting tension and conflict because these people
Yeah.
are like they're really not compatible with each other. Uh,
Right. And that's we've spoken a lot about Vampire World of
mhm,
Darkness a lot. We've also mentioned a game called Within the Ring of Fire
mhm.
a lot. These are two games that are coming to mind as you say that. That is correct. On initial glance, for someone who's not familiar with these rules at all, to hear a megacorp employee, someone who's working for
Yeah,
the man.
it's like a junior exec working for like
Yeah.
BP, hanging out
Yeah.
with like
Right.
someone from Antifa, like
Yeah. And so how does that work?
yeah, how does
It's an
that work?
appropriate
And what are the
response.
circumstances that are going to jam these people together?
Yeah. This game, the way it's written, the way the setting is built, and the way the mechanics are laid out, it does an excellent job uh, of giving you many different reasons, not only telling but showing in the sort of in character text or the quasi in universe writing style that appears here and there in the book, to give you many examples as to how and why not only these people were very philosophically opposed, or maybe philosophically opposed in the extreme, not only how are they going to come together, but how inevitable it is that these people
yeah.
from time to time are going to rub shoulders, while also leaning in at the same time to that tension. It's not invalidating either aspect of that analysis.
Yeah.
It's great, and that can be a pitfall. I found in maybe certain games that have in the case of Vampire, have a very sort of crystallized, organizational property. Well, why do you have a Jimisi working with a Bruja,
Yeah.
right? Like, well, for as very cool and interesting as the organizations and factions in that world, sometimes
Yeah, it's like
you know
under what
cost benefits.
circumstances, yeah, under what circumstances does a Zamisi end up in the Camarilla?
Yeah,
Like
the
that's
answer
a
is like,
hard sell story-wise.
it's a hard sell.
Yeah.
You know,
Whereas
um,
here everything's for sale, you know,
everything is
but
for
everything
sale.
has its price.
Oh yes, for sure.
Yeah.
And that's another thing. I think you or I had mentioned it on maybe one of the previous podcast episodes. One of the you know the laws of nature, laws of dramatic nature in this genre is the entropic aspect, the degradation.
Yeah.
No matter where you start, whether you have that corner office as a corpo, or whether you're a rocker boy who's selling out, the biggest venues, has a massive following, you're the media who's seen nationwide or
Yeah.
citywide, it ain't gonna last. Those bills have to get paid.
Yeah.
There's people who want what you have and are not going to let you keep it.
Right.
There are situations, movers, shakers, disasters on the horizon, which are very quickly going to threaten to bring you down, to take a couple rungs, from your ladder, take the wind out of your sails, make you fight for what you have, make you fight to get back what you used to have and now don't have.
Yeah.
Right? These things.
You're hyping me up, man. I can't wait to play.
Yeah, you should be very, very soon. Yeah. So that's what it's about. The world is an engine.
Exactly. The world
and
is
it's
an engine
eating up fuel.
Yeah.
So fast, and so if
and
you want to avoid the
driving you
furnace,
to action. Yeah.
Yeah. And that's what your character should be, particularly in this genre. You are never passive. Always moving, always active. Even if
Right.
you're a fixer. You're not
Stasis
you may
is
not
death.
be a Right, yeah. The minute you stop trying to swim, you're down for the count.
Yeah.
Water swallow you up. So that's it's a big bombastic. It wears the world, the rules, the genre, wears its colors on its sleeve very prominently.
Yeah.
And I think I've loved it. Phantom Liberty is on the horizon. I think it's coming out in June or July.
Yeah.
I believe
Yeah.
June. What better time? We're
Yeah. I mean, why not? Like, I'm pumped for that.
And
game to come
we've
out.
talked a big game. We've talked
Yeah.
a big game. We know Roll for Sanity
Right.
is out there.
Yeah,
we
exactly.
know that
We know that people watch and review these live plays, so
absolutely.
we're gonna put our money where our mouth is, and hopefully we deliver.
Euro
I think we
bucks
will, though.
Where our mouth is.
Yeah, exactly. Our Euro bucks. Yeah, I'm pretty pumped for it. I mean, I've been watching interviews with what's the creator's name? Is it Mike Pondsmith? I think.
Mike Pondsmith.
Yeah, and really interesting guy. I was also watching a lot of he was pretty heavily involved with the video game being created,
Right.
And it's good to know too, because now if you've never played Cyberpunk, the RPG, now of course you have the ultimate visual and audio references to draw inspiration from, since that video game has been
Sure.
out, and since there's more content coming out for it, and there will be more Cyberpunk video games coming out from CD Projekt Red at some point.
Can't wait.
Yeah, I can't wait too. It's gonna be awesome. Oh no, your camera spurged out. There you go. You're back.
Oh, there we go.
All right, you froze for a second. Yeah, but it's this is a good time to be playing this game, I think, and I think that there's
I agree.
I would like to see more live plays of this, because there's only a few.
There's very few.
Yeah, I saw maybe 5 or 6. So I don't know. Hopefully we can get some more eyes on the actual role playing game that inspired the video game, because it is a kind of a piece of RPG history. It was a big game.
Yeah, it's an old game.
Yeah, and it's
and
it's a really good game.
Yeah, so there's been 3 significant iterations of the Cyberpunk RPG. There's Cyberpunk 2013, which was the first, and there may be revised editions of maybe not 13, but I think there was for Cyberpunk 2020. But
Yeah.
Cyberpunk 2013, Cyberpunk 2020, which is what this book is, and Cyberpunk Red, which came out a couple years ago, I believe.
Yeah,
Just
not
before the
too
video
long
game.
back, but yeah.
Yeah, this game, copyright 1990.
Okay. Yeah, so that would have been the second iteration of the
2013
game.
came out in the 80s.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think the most quintessentially 80s movie was probably Roadhouse. I think that was 1990 as well.
Yeah.
There was a bunch of those the peak of that 80s style was 1990. I think that's also when Total Recall
it was
came
the final
out.
capstone.
Yeah, exactly.
of everything.
Before the culture shifted considerably in the 90s, and media shifted in the 90s. Not always for the better, to be honest.
Accurate statement.
Yeah, but I'm very much looking forward to this. We're going to be playing pretty much every other week, starting this coming Saturday. So I really hope you guys tune in. And if you can't tune in, definitely check out the recording, because it'll be worth it. This is going to be, this isn't a 90-minute session, nothing like that. We're planning on going for 4 hours at a time. So if any of you are crazy enough to sit down and watch a live play of a game for 4 hours, then we'll give you some sort of achievement.
There you go. There you go. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, and like we said, the first of many. So
Yeah, the first of many.
this
I mean,
is this is
we've got a lot of stuff planned, like other games that we're definitely going to run at some point. Like I will be running a game of Lion and Dragon on this channel that will probably continue for hopefully a long time.
very excited for
Yeah,
that.
I'm super pumped for that. But I am starting that also this coming weekend. On
In person.
Sunday, I'm starting that with an in-person group, and I am
Yeah.
phenomenally excited about that. I've
I'm
been
very eager to hear who you have and what your
Yeah, it's a couple of
opinions are.
my friends who have played with me before, like my friend Jesse, and a couple of new people as well who have never played these games.
Excellent.
So I think it's going to be a really good introduction too, because since they are going to be new players, this is another Lion and Dragon is another system where you kind of randomly roll up simple details about your background. It's not a full life path system like in Cyberpunk, but it does randomly determine your social class, maybe some basic skills that you learned in previous time. You're randomly rolling all your stats, which will possibly contribute to the limitations of the classes that you are able to select from. But it's pretty cool because I think that it's probably going to end up with a mix of social class and having them role play that out, and
Sure.
take it seriously is going to be pretty cool. That world is really exactly what I was looking for in terms of a fantasy game to run. So I was very, very happy when I found that. And very soon we're going to have reviews of pretty much all of those products in that
Yeah,
line.
yeah.
Lion and Dragon, Dark Albion, and Cults of Chaos. Eventually, I'll get to Sword and Caravan and Arrows of Indra and some of the others that sound really interesting. But that's going to take a while because I think I'm going to be pretty occupied with this for quite a while.
Yes. All good things.
Yeah, there's a lot that you can do with these things. I'm interested to see how hooked we get on this Cyberpunk game because this is something. It's just gonna it'll end.
I very much hope it's the answer is considerable.
I do too, because the thing is, this is the sort of thing where we've got pretty dedicated players, and since we're playing every other week as opposed to every week, so the issues with scheduling and commitment, and we're also doing this. We're limiting our players to people on the same continent as us, so
Right. So
the scheduling
of time
issues
zones
will
and-
probably not be as bad as they have been in the past.
Right.
But really, it's these games. They kind of, I would like to say, yeah, we might play this for years to come. We don't know how long it's going to go, but when they come to an end, they come to an end. And however this game comes to an end, with resolution, like it will be the game will
yes.
come to an end, not because players dropped out or something like that.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes. We are not making waffling content.
Yeah.
We hate it. We don't want to be a part of it.
And it just there's
The-
nothing worse than a game falling apart, especially when it's going well, it's got momentum. There's nothing worse than
All
like
missed
scheduling
opportunities
issues.
and unrealized potential.
Right. And since and this is one of the reasons I think that we can keep these things going considerably is that you and I have skin in the game on this. So like we are going to
yes.
be here regardless. But yeah, I'm also kind of I'm interested to see how hooked individually we are on this game, to see it actually play it out and be able to give our thoughts on this, because a lot of people and I do this too, and it's just because of time constraints and having responsibilities in life and whatnot. A lot of times when you review a game, you haven't had a chance to actually play it. It's based on the reading, and you can kind of based on previous experiences playing different games, you can judge kind of how a system will play out, and how much you'll like something, but you might not have an opportunity to actually run the game. And this is one that I think that we'll be able to actually do a very, very deep dive on.
for sure.
Yeah, and I'm really really excited for that.
Yeah, doing a review of this game, doing a retrospective, doing a deep dive, um, because it's not only the core book. I have a number of um, additional source books as well, which for any of these game lines that have source books or extensive catalogs of source books, they're not required, but additional info, additional inspiration to draw from, and being able to put not only the rules but to put the as much of the catalog as makes sense
Yeah.
um through its paces. Let it and observe it make content with reality, and how does it actually come together
Yeah.
based on how it seems like it might, or I suspect that this is the reaction that would happen. But again, the perennial, adage or understanding of any GM, any, you know, plans, player expectations, once, once play happens, things always
Yeah,
diverge, no matter what you're
anything
talking
can
about.
happen. That's the greatest part.
Anything can happen.
I mean, and
Yeah,
hopefully, I
most
mean,
definitely.
it would be like really cool if we got on Mike Pondsmith's radar through that
That
game.
would be
That would be
excellent.
pretty sick. I would love to talk to him about Cyberpunk.
It's something that I'm interested in. I'm excited about. Something I've always um it's something that's been what would you say? It's something that's exciting to me. The notion of a living world. Right. What would be really fun for me is I run this game for a good long while and people like it, and one day maybe you pick it up.
Hmm.
Maybe you decide to set it in Miami as well, and you take off,
Yeah.
or you don't. You set it in Night City. You set it in, Washington D.C. You set it in wherever.
Yeah.
But the events from this experience, from this game,
Shape the beginning of that one.
shape that, and we
Yeah.
see how ripples, in the water, interact with each other. NPCs that are loved and hated.
Yeah.
You know, are they alive? Did they survive? In what form
Yeah.
did that happen? What are they doing now? I love that.
Yeah, me too. Well, I think we're
So
pretty much at time.
yeah,
As far as any final words you have, I think that I've said pretty much what I am excited for, and can't
yes.
wait to start. That's I'm pumped.
I'm pumped. I'm pumped and ready.
Yeah.
And I think this is going to be something we'll apart from we will do a kind of review retrospective of the rules, etc. But here and there, I believe as this goes on, we'll be touching base on thoughts, reactions, events, perhaps or perhaps not on episodes of the podcast, but
Yeah.
certainly on the YouTube channel.
Yeah, and I'm sure this will probably just give us plenty of ideas as the game goes on. We're going to uncover
Yes.
topics, and people will probably ask questions about our game that'll give us
Yes, that is the
things to
hope.
talk about. Yeah, it's gonna be pretty cool. Yeah, I'm very excited. Tune in, guys. It's gonna
Yes.
be this coming Saturday. We'll put out the event for it, so you can subscribe to the bell for notifications. But yeah, Cyberpunk 2020, Blood and Sunshine.
Blood and sunshine. That's right. And as is the case, if we want to renew our adage, it is the case in Miami in 2077 as it is right now. No apologies,
No
no
compromises.
compromises.